What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or, of course, if you are watching on our rapidly growing YouTube channel, that is Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me from the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, I don't even know where we start with this one, so I'll start with this. Carolina getting the 81-77 win over Duke in the Final Four. They will advance to the national championship game on Monday night to play number one seed Kansas. And okay, before we dive into this, let me go ahead and shout our sponsor out on this real quick. Rogue Shop. I know you guys have heard, if you're an avid podcast listener, you've heard us blast the Rogue Shop over and over again. Fantastic products. Check them out at rogueshop.com. Link in the description below. For those who don't know, they specialize in top shelf family grown hemp products. So whatever you're into, CBD, Delta 8, candy, they come in tinctures, candies, oils, creams, gummies, whatever you're looking for. I'm telling you, Rogue Shop has you covered. Many people on THI staff, including myself and AJ, have used their products and swear by them. They're super, super high quality stuff. So if you guys are interested, want to get some, use the promo code TarHeels10. Click the link in the description below to head on over to rogueshop.com. Again, use that promo code TarHeels10 to save. And when do we even start? I said it earlier, but it's just, there's so many things going on right now, man. It's post game is always a wild time, but when you just witness the game, then I think we just witnessed the magnitude of it. Carolina Duke in the first time ever meeting in NCAA tournament. Coach K losing on his final game, his career's over. Carolina, the one that picks up the win to not only end his career, but advance to the national championship game as well on Monday night. So I want to start with this though, AJ, because I think this is when the game really burst wide open and kind of flipped on its head a little bit. And I think it was really a catapult for how Carolina was able to close this one out. And it happened to start the second half. So just to kind of paint the picture a little bit, Duke's up 41-34. Right kind of came out right out of the break and kind of punched Carolina in the mouth a little bit, for lack of a better word. And I think a lot of Carolina fans are probably sitting there like, okay, 7-point lead for the Blue Devils. What's going to happen right now? And then Carolina goes on that 13-0 run. Gives Carolina a 47-41 lead. Caleb Love was absolutely massive during that run. I believe he had 10 points during that stretch. Brady Manick hit the other 3 as well. 2 guys that were relatively quiet in the first half as well, kind of where it would have burst and give Carolina the lead at that point, 6-point lead after being behind by 7. I mean, I think that was absolutely a turning point in the game, because not only did I think it gave Carolina confidence, but also, you got Caleb Love going. You got Brady Manick hitting the shot early in the second half after a poor second half. And I think that really helped Carolina kind of settle down a little bit. I knew amazingly wild into the game. But for me, that was a major turning point in this game. And really when this thing got very, very interesting.
Well, Duke scored on, 2 dunks maybe to start the half? Or
yeah,
dunk, and one shot at the rim. Brady missed the 3. Carolina wanted to get Brady going.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to get going. And actually, sidebar, a quick second, I asked Brady after the game. We actually got the starters in the hallway right outside the locker room, in addition to the dais, because you just don't get much when they're on the dais. And I asked Brady, I said, your only basket in the first half was on a drive, and it came with 27 seconds left. I said, did you just kind of need to see something go through to get going in the second half? And he said, yeah, but they tried to get him one of his kind of shots to go open in the second half, and he missed that 3. And it was just kind of a bad sequence. Armando, it may have been a sequence where Armando missed a dunk. I'm not exactly sure. When we do these,
a blur.
I haven't had, Well, when we do these, I haven't had a chance to process everything, because I go straight from the interviews into doing these things.
Yeah.
So the Carolina, it was an ugly sequence. I tweeted that wasn't a very good sequence. Not a good way to start the half. Duke had a tremendous collective skip in its step. It's 41-34, and I'm thinking, wow, this is not a good way for Carolina to start the half. So I'm starting to think, how am I going to process the beginning of the second half here as one of my takeaways, or maybe even something more. And then Caleb hit a real tough shot.
Yeah.
Big time shot. Off the dribble. He's just getting so much better at mid game off the dribble. A lot of times it was one hand, but it doesn't matter. It goes in. It's a mid game. He's finding ways to get those shots off more comfortably than he did a few months ago, for sure. And then Brady hit the 3, and they started going. And it was a 13-0 run. They went up 45-41. Duke caught them and took lead, and they kind of traded places back and forth and stuff. But that was one of those opening sequences. We've seen Duke do it for decades, where they crush you at the end of the half, and maybe they explode out of the gates of a tight game at halftime. explode out second half and build a comfortable lead, just kind of put a team away. I'm not saying that would have happened if Carolina didn't have that little 13-0 run, but the 13-0 run sent the message to Duke that we ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And both teams kept sending messages to each other. We're not going anywhere. Like Carolina's up 45-41. They actually had the ball. They had a chance to make it a 15 or 16-0 run. Got a miss. Duke came down and got a tough bucket. I think Duke actually tied him at 45. So these teams were throwing big punches after big punches, body punches, all kinds of stuff. There were teeth flying all over the floor. And, you know, in Rocky, when they, you know, cut it with the eye and stuff, that was going on everywhere, you know, theoretically, of course. But that 13-0 run was huge because it was their way of saying we're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. Obviously, they won the game. But that was something that we've seen them do so much here in the last 6 weeks or so. We've talked about it. We talked about Virginia Tech's run in Blacksburg and the way they closed and that way they handled that. We talked about how they've handled other teams' runs for the last, we're talking 6 weeks. Yeah. And it's become who they are. They're a team that can give up a big run and they're cool. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're not going to stress over it. We know we've got the goods. We've got the right five on the floor that can handle this. And Caleb was big. Brady hit the big three. Another big three not long after that. Got himself going enough that they were so hard to guard. And I'll tell you about Caleb. We might as well talk about him. I don't even know what the final stat line is on Caleb.
I'll pull it up real quick. It's 28 points, 28 points, 4 rebounds. 22 of those came in the second half as well.
Yeah, and what's interesting is during that stretch that we're talking about, that 13-0 run, he was just owning Duke. So Duke decided to start switching on him. Hmm. So Hubert, in a great move, then put Caleb on the ball. Hmm. So you can't switch on him if he's already on the ball. And it worked. Hmm. And he had a huge second half. Carolina won the game. They don't win the game without that 13-0 run, I believe, because that was one of the few times tonight where I thought Duke has the mojo, Carolina doesn't, and they're in a dire situation. It was early in the second half, but it was still a dire situation. Mm-hmm. And I think that they don't win the game without that run. That run to me symbolizes the full growth of this team and the full growth of Caleb Love. And by the way, I asked Caleb afterward, I said, you know, you just have this ability. You go 1 for 8, 1 for 9. You just keep shooting like you're going to fall eventually. And he's unflappable. Brady said he's unflappable. Armando said he's unflappable. I mean, he's a scorer. He's got so much confidence. The next shot's going in. And I think tonight, for the second time in their last 3 games, Caleb Love gave the rest of the team confidence that was born out of that run right there.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It was such a huge stretch, too, just to add this because, I mean, everybody who watches basketball knows this. It's kind of cliche, but the first 4 minutes of the second half are so incredibly important. Really in any sport. I mean, the first few minutes of any second half of any sport are so important, especially in basketball. For Carolina to kind of take that punch to the face, bounce back with a 13-0 run to go up by 6 again, Caleb Love being a massive part of that.
It was more like a face slap.
Yeah, it wasn't a
face slap
punch,
can sting. A punch kind of knocks you back, but it was a face slap. And when you get a face slap, maybe you look down and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But they immediately responded. I don't want to be corny like that, but they slapped him back, right? Yeah. So they did.
It's true.
There are a million things we could talk about, Jacob.
Yeah, I was going to say
we're gonna follow a script, but it's 1:04 your time is 12:04 here. We've got to be back in the building by about 11:30 in the morning for Carolina, and a little while after Carolina's interviews and the Kansas interviews. But we could do this podcast between now and then. The only problem is battery on my headphones are wearing because there's so much to talk about.
We could probably change the title to 33 things if I'm being honest.
Hey, Eddie Murray was number 33.
I know. I knew there was a 30. I knew 33 was a special number for some reason for you. Now I know why. Shout out Eddie Murray on this one, guys. I bet you didn't expect that one coming.
It's the most underrated player in baseball history, but let's not go there.
And that's what you get.
Even though he's in the Hall of Fame.
You get Orioles references in the THI podcast, guys. That's why you tune in for stuff like that, right?
399 career batting average with the bases loaded. That's what you get in the THI podcast.
That's what you get on the THI podcast.
Let's stay on one of the greatest college basketball games ever played.
Yeah, it definitely was one of the greatest college basketball games ever played. I don't think anybody would disagree.
That's what Armando said. That's what Armando said.
I don't disagree with him. I thought it was just an absolutely fantastic game to watch. And I tweeted this out. Just as a sidebar real quick before we move on to the second thing and some stats. I tweeted this out, but I don't want to hear any more arguments from anybody. Carolina Duke is the greatest rivalry in American sports simply because it just never ever disappoints. And I think this was kind of the icing on top, the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake, if you will. I think this was kind of all put it all.
There's always the guy in the room that says chocolate sucks.
That's true.
So there's going to be people that
right?
say it. Well, exactly. There's always the outlier, but
it's hard to beat it. AJ, real quickly, I'm gonna.
Staying on that, since we're being extraordinarily organic with this pod tonight. I had a young kid from the Daily Tar Heel sitting next to me with about 4 minutes left. I said, "That's my 58th Carolina Duke game." He said, "Think this is the best one?" And I was like, "Let me think about it." I'm not making fun of him or anything like that. I just think that's kind of cool. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, it is cool.
And it probably his like third or fourth or second, first. Who knows? I'm sure he's done one, but it's 58th cool. 58th one, and this is where it was, and this is what it was, and there were 12 to 15 moments, especially in the second half, where maybe not 12 to 15, maybe 6 or 7 for each fan base. They thought, oh no. And maybe there were 6 for Carolina, there were 7 for Duke, and the 7th one was with 8.8 seconds left when Caleb hit those 2 free throws. Mm-hmm. And that's when you have a fan base that just can't handle losing. I mean, just there's no other. No. You can't lose. And they have those 6 or 7 moments, and the other team has the same thing too. That means it's a great game.
Yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic game. And I'm going to shout out the person. I don't know who tweeted this, a Carolina fan, but I thought it was a fantastic tweet. I asked people how they kind of feel after the game a lot. And she said, I think I had about 5 heart attacks during that game. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, if you're a Carolina fan, if you're a Duke fan, you definitely do. If you're a Carolina fan, you probably did too.
From a ton of people, God bless people. They don't realize how busy we are.
Yeah,
we're doing.
It's amazing.
I got people texting me, sending me DMs. Hey man, how does it feel to be there watching the greatest game ever played? I'm like, I'll get back to you next Thursday.
Yeah, it's been about 72 hours
because there's still another game to be played.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I know, yeah. The grind.
So next point.
Yeah. We'll move on to the next one because we can sit here and talk all day. I'm going to run through some stats real quick like I always do. Caleb Love led the way, 28 points, 11 for 20 from the floor, four rebounds. 22 of those points came in the second half. Absolutely fantastic, as he has been in many times this year. It seems like it's a theme now. Taking over games, and he's done it in the tournament before as well. RJ Davis, 18.7 boards. Brady Manick, 14 points, 4 boards. Armando Bacot, double for him, 11 points, 21 boards, fouled out as well. Probably got a swollen ankle right now as well. Eventful game for Armando Bacot. Leaky Black, 8 points, 9 rebounds. UNC shot 42.2% from the floor. Duke shot 41.7%. The big factor in that, Duke shot just 22.7% from 3. Carolina 38.5%. Very even shooting game from the floor, though, from both teams. All right, AJ, second thing I want to hit on so we keep this one moving a little bit. Armando Bacot. I thought he was a beast. I mean, and I know 11 points isn't a crazy amount. When you look at those 21 boards, I think that really sums up his game. And I think it really sums up what this game was. You hit on it being a war, and you're there in person. And I'm watching it on TV, and it was a war. I mean, it was so evidently just such a physical back and forth game. But you said this before we came on the air. It was so physical, but there was also so many moments of finesse too. And I think that speaks to the talent that, Duke and Carolina possess, being 2 of the, best programs in college basketball. It's really a testament to that. But first thing first, Armando Bacot, 11 points, 21 boards, has that moment where he steps on Leaky Black's foot, twists his ankle, did not look good. And then, less than 5 minutes later, it seems like he's checking back into the game. Played the rest of the game, obviously fouled out, but didn't look extremely comfortable at times when he was out there. But credit to him for going back out there in the moment, in the game. I know he was running on adrenaline. It'll be interesting to see how the next 48 hours or so looks for him. And
but
how
he was there. But he was out there.
But he was there. And I think that speaks to the toughness of him, but also thinks it just speaks to the absolute war that we witnessed tonight, that we often do witness in these Carolina Duke games.
I was told I was on the radio with Matt Hatfield in Virginia. I'm just trying to remember. Everything's a blur. In Virginia this morning. Matt's a wonderful dude. He runs the Virginia Preps for the Rivals Network, and
he's fantastic.
He does a ton of stuff down in the Tidewater area. And I was on his radio show, and I told him, I said, Armando doesn't have to go for 20 for Carolina to win this game. He's just got to be productive enough in scoring that Duke has to just be on it. They cannot give him an opportunity to go off and have one of those massive games, because sometimes he had some massive scoring games, and he was great against Kentucky, and Carolina got throttled. So they don't need him to have a huge scoring game to do it, but they need him to eat rebounds. I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, it's like Pac-Man in consuming those pellets, because once the Pac-Man consumes a pellet, it disappears on the screen. And once Armando gets his meat hooks on a ball, it just kind of disappears into his body. And he did that 21 times tonight. And once he got to like 12 and 13 and 14, there's like a hint of demoralization that sets in for the opponent, because even Mark Williams wasn't getting those things.
Yeah.
But Armando didn't have a great first half. He and Brady each only had one bucket in the first half. And it was disappointing in the first half in the sense that Mark Williams went out of the game with 15, 16 left in the half and didn't return in the first half. And Duke had a lead. Carolina wasn't able to capitalize on that. Theo John actually played pretty well in his stretch, but he picked up his fourth foul with like 4 minutes left in the half.
Yeah,
and then Duke went small.
Yeah.
Duke went small, and Carolina. Is that Ben walking by there? Hey, Ben, see you later. Eric, see you later, Eric.
Everybody, Jones Angel enjoying some pizza. I can go for a slice. Go for a slice of pizza.
They have a ton of pizza. They didn't give me any low carb food, so I can't have it. So,
sounds like you, AJ.
But they didn't capitalize on that. I thought, wow, that could really come back to haunt them. But it didn't, because Armando was better in the second half when Williams was in the game. And I thought that when the first time that Carolina Duke played, Armando picked up his 2,000 going out. What did we say was the effect of that? Not just at the time their best player went out, but he was the only lunch pail guy on the team at the time. The only one. He went out of the game, they're all looking around like, hey, there's no lunch pails on the floor. There's nothing for us here. The lunch pail's over there. He has it, and he's the only one with it. Now, Puff in there, Puff hit those 2 free throws. Puff had a great box out. Again, he had one against UCLA as well in the second half. And they were scrapped. Everybody scrapped. Armando's lunch pail mentality for early February has bled on to everybody else, and it was there tonight. So every time he gets a rebound, it's a little bit of demoralization. Duke in this game, and I think it was a little bit infusing for Carolina. Just like the game in Durham, Carolina had a little bit more skip as the game crept toward the final minutes than Duke did. Duke was hitting some shots, and Duke was playing well in some respects. I don't think Duke played losing basketball at all, but Carolina just made more plays, just like what happened down at Durham. They just looked like the better team. They looked like we're the club that's going to end up making the 1 or 2 plays we have to make to win this game, just like they did in Durham. And I told you guys off the air yesterday that I think Carolina is now a better team than Duke, and I think they proved it tonight. They proved it because they won with finesse. They won with a war. They won with their dogs being dogs. RJ kept them afloat in the first half. Caleb just, had that spinach at halftime again and went nuts. By the way, he's gone off for 27 and 22 points in the second half of 2 of the last 3 games against Blue Bloods. That's freaking impressive.
He's a big time.
And I just think, and I'll tell you another huge play in the second half too. There was a time when Leaky got the ball kind of mid-right wing, and there were a couple of options to swing it, but he didn't. He saw something in the defense where he kind of drove into the middle of the lane, sucked in the defense kicked it over to Manek in the left corner for an open 3. Boom. Hit an enormous 3-pointer. But Caleb was the guy, man. Caleb was the guy. Armando was the guy. Brady in stretches was the guy. I thought Leakey's his defense on AJ Griffin was incredible. Remember what AJ Griffin did in the Dean Dome?
Yep, big time player.
He didn't do that tonight. I thought Brady's defense at times on Brett Carroll was pretty good. Brady drew 4 fouls on Duke in the first 2.5 minutes of the game. And I'm going all over the place here because there's just so much to hit on. There's so many moments worth putting on a massive checklist.
Yeah.
And I just went through like 6 of them right there, because I think this is one of those kind of games where there aren't 2 or 3 obvious storylines and nothing else. There's hundreds of mini storylines within the bigger storylines.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, it could be 33 things very easily. All right, AJ, last thing we're going to talk about before we wrap this one up. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to kind of let you take over on this because you obviously there interviewing Brady Manek, but this is kind of obviously Carolina, everybody knows, advancing to the national championship game to play Kansas on Monday night, number 1 seed Kansas team that's really playing really, really well right now. One of the best teams in the country, no doubt about it. But the Manek comment, I'll let you take over the story and kind of tell us about it. Cause I think I know what you're going to say about, and for people who haven't done sports journalism, it's stuff like this, that moments like this that are just so fantastically cool and what makes this job so rewarding. So go ahead.
Yeah, and a lot of these conversations just stay where they were, but I think this is a pretty good one because it sort of reflects, I think it kind of says a lot. Okay, so we're talking to the players outside the locker room in the hallway, and we were finishing up, and Brady was done, I was done, I'm kind of walking away, and he's looking behind me. I turned around, I just thanked him for giving us the time, and he said no problem. And he said something about you were all of our games, you were all of our road games. I saw you at all the road games or whatever it was, and I said yeah. And he said all the away games. I said yeah. He said did you ever think that we'd be here? And I said, not after the weight game. And he started laughing.
It's true.
But I think that that's a great exchange, and it says a lot. And I don't root for them to win. I don't root for them to lose. I'm indifferent, but when you see them up close and see what they've been through, it's really hard to not feel good for these kids. And I'm so glad for him that he really had the Carolina. He went from thinking, oh crap, he went to the NIT, I'm not going to have a real Carolina experience, to he's having it on steroids.
Yeah.
Because they're going to play in a national championship game for the third time in 6 years. And then for each of the last 9 decades, this program will have played in a national championship game. They've done it with 5 coaches.
Wow.
5 different head coaches. It's the best program in the country, especially if they win Monday night. That's the conversation. And I'll begin with North Carolina. Brady Manick is on a team that pushes them over the top. And he is as integral in their success in getting here as anybody else. But I think I probably should have responded by asking him the same question.
Yeah.
But I think he would have said yes.
Mm.
Because I think the only way you go from Coral Gables and Winston-Salem to this point is if you really did believe. Their head coach believed in them. And they believed in themselves. They weren't sitting there saying that they were going to play for the national title, but they knew they could be a lot better. Mm-hmm. And is anything in life, it's like if you lose a lot of weight, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to lose X number of pounds. You think it's not possible. I'm not going to get there. Then you lose a little bit more, a little bit more. Next thing you know, I got 20 pounds to go. That's pretty good. And you can get there. There are a million different things you could say in like that equate to that. I kind of think that's where this team was after Wake Forest. Like they had 100 pounds to lose. Mm-hmm. And they lost 5 pounds. They lost 7 pounds. They lost 6 pounds in a week. They lost 3 pounds in a week. Then they put on weight because they splurged on pizza when they played Pitt, and they put on 1.5 pounds. Then they had to get back to working out again, right? Next thing you know, they're rolling into New Orleans, which is not a place you want to be if you're on a diet. But they don't care. They were feasting tonight. It was all low carb, and they're losing weight still. They got a couple more pounds to go Monday night, and voila. How's that?
That's a hell of an analogy right there, AJ. That's impressive stuff, right? Especially at 1:20 a.m.
Yeah, but I really appreciated that because I don't think these guys. I told you I didn't think these guys were going to be phased by the money. I said that I thought they approached this. They felt the same way here the last couple of days that they did in Fort Worth and that they did in Philadelphia. And that's the way they felt the last couple of days. And after the game, they weren't like celebrating like crazy. Like Armando, every time people ask him about the Coach K thing and ending his run and beating the rival here. I mean, he's like, yeah, I love it. This is great. It says something for 20 seconds. He says, but we're not done. We didn't come here to beat Duke. We came here to win a national title. So the reason they were able to take as many blows as they did, the reason they were able to have that 13-0 run when they did, because that was the one moment I thought, ooh, they might get knocked in. And they didn't. And the reason they withstood a first half in which Armando had 1 bucket, Brady had 1 bucket, Canada was struggling from the floor. I mean, at one point, Leakey attempted, and this is no disrespect to Leakey, right? But he attempted 7 of their first 24 shots. He hadn't attempted more than 5 shots in an NCAA tournament game. Thanks to you for doing the research for me.
Yeah, no problem.
Wi-Fi sucked here, and I couldn't get on ESPN. But he ended up taking 9 shots in the game, and hit 2 threes. And the one in the second half was big. So they find ways. Somebody said after the game, like, gosh, they didn't look pretty all the time. Okay, that's 2017 did not look pretty in Phoenix. So finding ways to do the little things magnifies the big things.
Yeah.
You could have a lot of big things, but it's like being out in football. You hit a 45-yard touchdown pass, but on the time you don't score, it's 3 and out, the other team gets the ball to 47, and they shred your defense, stress your defense all game. You could put up a lot of points on the board, if you've seen North Carolina football teams do before, and give up a ton, and it doesn't matter. It's the little things. It's, getting 3 first downs and punting and having them start their own 12 as opposed to 46, how games are won. In basketball, it's getting the loose balls. It's some of the rebounds that they got. It's doing the kind of things that send a message to the other team that we aren't going anywhere. And I don't think North Carolina sent that message a lot during the season. There were times they did, and there were times they did not. And they have sent that message repeatedly in this tournament. When you survive what they did against Baylor, and you do it with McCoy and Styles on the floor, that means you got what it takes. When you close out UCLA 12-2 and you hold Juzang and Jaquez to no points over the last 10 minutes, that means you got the goods. When you tell Cinderella she doesn't belong, and you do it right out of the gate, that's when you got the goods. And then when you do what they did tonight, you shut down A.J. Griffin, your dog, your screw you player of all screw you players this team has, does the screw you thing in the second half, and you win, and he wants that ball in the last minute. He wants to shoot those free throws. That's when you have what it takes. And they have shown everybody that watches basketball on this planet that they have what it takes. If they win Monday night, it would not be a surprise. No. And it's not a surprise they won tonight.
No, not at all. Not at all, AJ. For all the marbles on Monday night, Carolina winning 81-77, beating Duke in the final. 4 interesting little tidbit too. Coach Gay going out losing 4 out of his last 5 to Carolina. I believe he finished 50-50 all time against Carolina, which is just speaks again to, I don't want to hear any arguments. This is the greatest rivalry in college basketball. But you look at some stats like that. So Carolina fans can be up late.
The ratings were.
Yeah,
I'd be lying to you if I told you about 5 of us on Press Road about the 2.5-3 minute mark. Like, God, I wonder how many people are watching this game right now.
Yeah. Got it. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing those. It had to be.
It won't be what it would have been if it was on CBS. It would have been more. CBS is.
Yeah.
And the reason it's on TBS is because the only way CBS could afford to buy the tournament was to get some help.
Yeah.
So CBS is another little, or TBS, the Turner's another little investor. That's why they get the games. But at least they do. People that complain this is on TBS, be grateful that this marriage is a thing, because that's how you get all the games.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have all those platforms. So there was a time not that long ago when there's a close game and you want to see it, but you can't. And Greg Gumbel would come in and say, well, let's check in on this game.
Yeah, I remember those good old days.
And they're about to take a shot with 30 seconds left and they go to another commercial. So those days are over because Turner, ponied up with CBS, but that's why this thing is on Turner this weekend. And you know what? Good for Turner. Yeah,
good for them for sure. We'll see what happens on Monday night, AJ. Obviously, we'll have another podcast coming tomorrow from, another pre-national championship game media day, as I guess what we'll call this one. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate you guys tuning in.
We'll do 2 tomorrow. We got 2 more.
We got a pregame to get. We got a look ahead podcast as well, where we'll look ahead to the Kansas game on Monday night as well. So guys, keep it locked to Tar Illustrated. Keep it locked for all your post-game content from tonight as well, that AJ is going to go do in about 30 seconds when I close this one out at 1:30 a.m.
Over under on my sleep time.
0. 1 hour. I'll give you 1 hour. I'm going to say, I think you could get like 3 in there. I think you could get 3 in there.
6 a.m. Central Time. That's my goal.
I think that's doable. If we get the heck off.
4 hours. Get 4 hours. Get up. Go get some steps and then get here.
Yeah, as long as you hit if you hit the 10K steps, you'll be around the arena. You'll hit 10K again tomorrow. That'd be impressive.
Yeah, blow by it.
Walk a mile. You told me you walk a mile to go to the bathroom. So
yeah, it was 347 steps. I counted from the press room to the men's room. It's 347 steps. So that's 347 one way.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Shows you how massive that arena is. So right, it's unbelievable. Unbelievably big, but good place to go ahead and wrap this one up real quickly as well, as I think AJ's frozen a little bit on me Wi-Fi wise, which speaks to how bad the Wi-Fi is at the tournament. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Make sure you keep it locked, TarIllustrated.com. Check out the Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Link in the description below. Like, share, comment, hit that. Oh, share, subscribe, if I could say that.
Yes.
Hit that notification bell as well. See you every single time we upload. See you all in the next one. Thanks.
Thanks.